up, YouTube? I'm back. Like I said, I was gonna be the Latin assassin himself, Big Lou, tapping back in. What it do, Big Lou? NFZR 2, baby. So, as you can tell from that thumbnail, that's Dwayne Johnson, aka The Rock, aka Rocky Maivia, the son of uh, one half of the first black tag team champions of the WWF. Who his father was, Rocky Johnson, and he's also the grandson of High Chief Peter Maivia, who was also a professional wrestler, who also was pretty much the head of what we know as the bloodline today in WWE. Right? That was started with Chief Maivia, followed by Alpha and Sika, and then all their kids, nephews, and nieces. So recently, it's been reported on a bunch of channels, or excuse me, a bunch of media outlets, also articles written by different outlets, and it was again like most times, especially on the media outlet, mainstream media outlets, it was reported like, oh, uh, the Rock, Dwayne Johnson, Hollywood hit movie star and entrepreneur is gonna not gonna endorse President Biden like he did last time, but they made it sound like if he in some way felt it was a mistake because Biden ended up being no good of a president, which that's way off. If that's not even close. Why he said what he said, and we know by the numbers, because numbers are facts and there's no such thing as alternative facts. In my opinion, and from what the data says, President Joe Biden, the 46th president of the United States of America, right? Former vice president for 8 years, former United States senator of the state of Delaware for what, 36 years, I think he had in, from 1973 to 09, 2009. So that's what, 36 years? 36 years plus 8 plus 4 as a president, you're talking almost 50 years, right? Okay. He has a tremendous record on uh, sponsoring bills, authoring bills, being part of coalitions that worked across the aisle. I mean, this dude, it's being said that he's the most divisive president in history. Well, come on, man. What a straight lie. I mean, that's coming from Fox News. What do you expect? So, anyways, I watched the little interview by The Rock, short. I didn't watch all of it, because it was put out in clips. But the main reason why he said in 2020 he endorsed Joe Biden, and the reason why he's not going to do it in 2024, because he believes that hold on, he believes that that because of what everything he's involved with. So we know he's a big time uh, actor, right? I mean, other than him, you got Batista, you got John Cena, right? But what he's number one out of those three guys as far as money making, the lead roles that he plays, and multiple genres of movies, comedy movies, action movies. You know what I'm saying? Um, uh, you know, this was something that Hulk Hogan was trying to, way back when, was trying to kick in the door in on. But he did make some money off his movies, but Hulk Hogan's more of his money from back in the '80s was from WWF. You know what I'm saying? And then he huge contract from WCW after he was already in wrestling for a while. Uh, but what the Rock, Dwayne Johnson has done is definitely took the movie scene by storm. You know what I'm saying? Oh, and I didn't mention he played a superhero too, Black Adam. I forgot about that. So he's got multiple roles that he's played in different genres of movies. And so and he's done a pretty damn good job. So where he's coming from, and then not to mention that him being a movie star, he's back in. He's They're calling him now the final boss. So I don't know what's really going on with that right now. If he's still lined up with the bloodline or something, I don't know. I don't watch the wrestling nowadays, but I do watch little clips here and there because I do look at the bloodline, or not the bloodline, because Jay Uso, I don't think he's with them still no more. I tap in because those dudes, the roots those guys came from. I used to watch them. Alpha Sika. I remember when The Rock first hit as Rocky Maivia. He took his dad's first name and his grandpa's last name, put them together, Rocky Maivia. He came in that smiling youngster. You know what I'm saying? And that wasn't his niche. So the heel being the heel, which means bad guy, was his niche. You know what I'm saying? He blew up off it. And that's what Hulk Hogan was talking about. He goes, back in my day, it was just me. He goes, it was just me against all the villains. Yeah, of course they had baby faces, Hillbilly Jim and Junkyard Dog and Coco Beware and those guys. But Hulk Hogan was the main guy. So all the heels had their go around with him. King Kong Bundy, Big John Studd, Terry Funk, Cowboy Bob Orton, Roddy Piper, Mr. Wonderful. You know what I mean? So, but nowadays, not nowadays, but the time when The Rock was there, and you had The Rock, you had John Cena, you had Batista, Triple H, Shawn Michaels. You know what I'm saying? Bret Hart. That was all leading into the way where they had many guys that they can put the strap on and rotate it around. The Undertaker, Kane. You know what I'm saying? So on and so forth. But anyways, on top of all that, The Rock also is a business. He's a businessman, right? And he's based out in Florida. Which is we know is very well. And nowadays we consider Florida a red state, Republican state, but there's still spots in Florida that are blue, and I think it's more purplish than red, even though Trump's won it the last few years. But um, so I don't know if the fact that he made that public, if it like hurt any of his business dealings or what. But from how he's put it, and I'll get to what he said. I'll get to what exactly he said in this article. He's saying that by him coming out saying Joe Biden that it's it's not bringing the country together. So he's not going to endorse anybody publicly. So that doesn't mean that he's not going to go vote for Joe Biden, because the way he can do it in secrecy now, or silency, however you want to call it. Privately. Excuse me, I should have said privately, because the way the media is putting, the main media is that he's not going to vote for him. He's not going to endorse him publicly. Therefore, he don't have his vote, and he made a mistake and blah blah blah. No, that's not what he's saying. You know what I'm saying? It's not what he's saying, and it's his business to do what he wants. That's why we live in the land of the free and the home of the brave and land of the free, right? You're supposed to be, you're supposed to be able to make your own choices, and the way it's going with the Supreme Court, a lot of things we're not being able to uh, make our own choices and be okay with it. Not have to worry about going to jail or being fined or anything. And that goes with the abortion law, the Roe v. versus Wade that was overturned, the affirmative action, the DEIs, the civil rights, voter rights, all those things. Um, feels like we're going back 50, 60 years. You know what I mean? And now, I mean, how is that progress? That is, to say now that, oh, well, DEI and affirmative action is racist towards white people. You know what I'm saying? That's that Stephen Miller, Stephen Bannon type crap, right? And there's many more that talk that whiny baby crap, right? On top of the voter rights, we got hundreds of bills being introduced across the nation on voter rights. Gerrymandering, it's crazy how they just try to turn stuff to work in their favor, and it's just allowed. But that's not the case. Some of the gerrymandering has been overturned lately in different states. So there's a lot of things people need to pay attention to what's going on, because you can't just watch your local Fox channel or your local NBC channel, or your local ABC channel, and hope to get the real facts, because they keep in mind, news is only on for an hour, and every time the news come on, it's a set time. From this time it starts and it ends at that time. So how can you possibly? They have to work the scheduling of the program to put the stories in. Which ones are more more important than others, and even then they put silly stories in the hour to fit in that hour. You know what I'm saying? And then the news comes on again later, and most of the time it's just a replay of the same stuff, unless something breaking happens or something out of the ordinary. So that tells you right there. You know what I mean? Um, so I'm gonna read this article now and tell you, and says what The Rock says. So it says, Dwayne Johnson won't endorse a presidential candidate in 2024 election between me and the ballot box. Basically, what I said, right? In privacy. My goal is to bring our country together. I believe in that in my DNA, The Rock said. So, in the spirit of that, there's going to be no endorsement. After endorsing Joe Biden in 2020, The Rock said in a new interview that he won't publicly support either candidate, whether it's Biden or Trump, in 2024. I think it's between me and the ballot box. In September of 2020, the wrestler turned actor and self-described political independent and centrist broke from his personal tradition by throwing his weight behind Biden and Kamala Harris ticket, which marked the first time he had ever backed a candidate in his decades-long career. However, in a new interview with Fox and Friends, Fox and Friends, imagine that, Johnson said this time around he won't publicly endorse any candidates. Am I going to do that again this year? The answer is no. I'm not going to do that, Johnson said, because what I realized what that caused back then was something that tears me up in my guts back then and now, which is division, and that got me. So I'm going to go ahead and, I got to react to that because endorsing one president over the other is not causing division. The division is when you go out there and spew lies and fearmonger. That's where the division comes. And on top of that, Donald Trump believes that he's such a good candidate, right? Because everything about him is the best, the greatest, perfect, right? And he puts a big emphasis on everything he does, even if it's winning a golf tournament at his own golf resort, right? Is when you come out here and say, like, if he was to come out here, The Rock, and say, yeah, I'm endorsing Biden because um, Donald Trump wants to go round up everybody whose parents were born somewhere else, but their kids were born here, and even deport their kids, for example, even though he's mentioned something like that before, until his dumb ass realized that, okay, well, then that means your son Barron got to go too. And then he backed up off that, right? Because he's not smart, like he says. Oh, I use the best words. I'm so smart. I went to the best schools. Well, they need to, your parents need to come out the grave and get their refund. You know what I'm saying? Because this nutterly ridiculous. Or if he came out and he said, "Well, I'm endorsing Joe Biden because Donald Trump will pass laws to come and take all your properties or something like that," right? Like they did in Cuba, right? For example, uh, Cuban people told me, I met some Cuban people that came here in 1980 and said that their family had owned maybe a couple of houses, and that when Castro and them came in, they made them pick which one they wanted to keep and the other property they took. And then eventually they came back again and started making them pay on their own property that they owned, the one that they decided to keep. So something like that, if he came out and said something like that, or if he came out and said that, oh, Donald Trump is gonna, if I have to go with Biden because if Donald Trump's elected, he's gonna go after anybody that's not of Anglo bloodlines or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Just something far fetched and out of the ordinary or something. Even though, and the reason I say that is because they're I seen something recently where it says that this guy's speaking on Trump's behalf, and he's saying that the fact that he's speaking and he likes Hitler is the good thing for the country because it means he's serious. Oh, well, man, like, wow. So, anyways, so on the flip side, if he says that well, he's endorsing Trump because Biden's pushing 8 month old babies in the womb and even after birth to be aborted, which that's an utterly lie. Or he says I'm voting for Trump. I'm endorsing Trump because the Democratic Party drink kids' blood, or some weird shit like that, right? So So I'm not buying that what he's saying when it comes to that. It's divisive. It divides the country. The country is divided. And let me finish what my point to all that is that Donald Trump he knows exactly what's going on, and he's so his strategy is so much top notch. Is why he lost 2020. But according to him, it was stolen, and now he don't even want to unite the Republican Party. He said they don't even need the voters that. Keep in mind, two locations Haley voters outvoted him, and she won. D.C. and I think it was Vermont. I think it was. I know it was D.C. for sure. I think it was Vermont, the other one, or maybe New Hampshire. I don't remember, but it was one of those states over there on the East Coast. And when asked about how he wants to bring Haley voters on over to the MAGA side, he says, "I don't think we need any of them." And he's insulting them. So how this dude is divisive within the own party that he's representative. So the heck with being divisive with the country. I mean, he's well beyond that. You know what I'm saying? But yet they flip it and say Joe Biden is the most divisive president in history, which is not nowhere true. Woodward, or what was his name? Woodrow Wilson, excuse me. Woodrow Wilson, Hoover. You know what I mean? Those guys were very something else. Andrew Jackson, and that's his favorite, Trump's favorite president, Andrew Jackson. These guys were totally racist, you know what I mean, and divisive. So uh, the stuff that comes out is crazy. So anyway, let me finish this article. Reading this article, okay. However, in a new interview, okay, I think I already read that. Okay, yeah, I read that part. Johnson continued. The takeaway after that, after months and months and months, I started to realize, like, oh man, that caused an incredible amount of. Okay, what happened? Oh, they're playing games with me. Okay, hold on. So it took the it took the let me try this again. See, just like this. Vanity White, the headline of their story was is Dwayne the Rock Johnson turning to the right? You know what I'm saying? See, that's what I mean. It's they're not reporting this. They're not reporting it right. You know what I'm saying? Let me get this back on the screen. I made it pop off on accident. So it says Johnson continued. The takeaway after that, after months and months, I started to realize, like, oh man, that caused an incredible amount of division in our country. So I realize now, going into this election, I am not going to do that. He continued. I wouldn't do that because my goal is to bring our country together. I believe in that in my DNA. So, in the spirit of that, there's going to be no endorsement. Regardless who wins in November, Johnson has pledged to support 100%. Whoever is elected. I do trust the American people, Johnson added, and I trust that whoever they vote for, that's going to be my president. That's for sure. So, and I'll tell you guys a story too, man. When I walked out of that night of 2016 election in November, I was up all night. So, and I found out who won. I found out Trump won before I even went to sleep. When I woke up in the morning for breakfast, I was in prison at the time. And when I woke up for breakfast. And keep in mind, most of us wake up about anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour uh, before we get actually released for breakfast because they do it by buildings, they do it by tier release, but before that, as soon as the first second watch comes in at 6 a.m., they go by and unlock everybody's doors. So you hear all the doors being unlocked, and it's pretty loud, right? Because you figure they got a ring of keys, and they're big keys, they're not little regular keys. Excuse me. And a lot of people wake up then. That's their wake up call, their alarm, if they don't have alarm set. So a lot of people are up already watching the news. So a lot of people knew when we walked out of our cells to head on down to the chow hall for breakfast that morning, they knew that Trump won. And when I came out, one of the first words out of my mouth to my neighbors was, well, he's our president now, so hopefully he does good. You know what I'm saying? Because whoever's on top, or as the president, however they do in office reflects on the whole country. It doesn't matter if you're not lined up with their political party. So for example, in my opinion, Biden's done historical things, getting things passed, even when there was a huge, tremendous pushback by the Republican Party, right? So now you got monies in districts where these their congressmen and women voted against these bills, but now that the money's rolling in the district for projects and and the infrastructure bills and things, now they're over there bragging about the money that's came into their district when they voted against it, right? So that shows you right there that he's the president for all. He don't have in the bill, well, it only goes to Democratic states and Democratic cities and Democratic towns. That's nowhere in anywhere in Joe Biden's bills. He's not out there talking about, yeah, well, crime's bad here, but part of his speech is not that, oh yeah, New York City's bad, but South Carolina's double that, or Oklahoma's triple that. You know what I'm saying? He don't go out there saying that. He's not a president of red states and blue states. He's a president of all the United States of America. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the other candidate gets his shit twisted and he's all gacho about it. That means effed up. He's all chueco about it. You know what I'm saying? He's all twerked up here. His mind is twerked. And all these followers just follow him because they're afraid to speak out against him because they'll get primaried, right? Because he does hold a big influence on these red states, right? Such as South Carolina, Lindsey Graham, right? Kentucky, McConnell, and in Alabama with Tuberville and Britt, and South Carolina with Graham and Scott. I just want to love you. Sounds like a fucking like a straight idiot. Embarrassing to hear somebody like that speak like that. You know what I'm saying? Do it all you can just to lick his boot and lick his balls. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But anyways, this is just a little video, and I wanted to, give my input about The Rock and how everything's being reported falsely about it. The Rock has his own reasons. He says that's his reason in public what he's saying, but I think it's more than that. I think it's more divisive to his personal businesses and his personal dealings, in my opinion. We know that he's good with Dana White. Dana White's real good friends with Trump, but I don't believe Dana White has said why he supports Trump. He said because when we were down and out and barely starting, Trump opened his doors to us, and he's always been a friend to me. Hey, not saying that's not true. You know what I'm saying? They're not saying that's not true. And I like how Dana White does put things. They're not Asian Americans, they're Americans. They're not African Americans, they're Americans. They're not white Americans, they're Scottish Americans, Irish Americans, Mexican Americans, Puerto Rican Americans, Cuban Americans, they're Americans. And I like some of that, the way he speaks, because that's a little bit, I don't like how that's always done by identity politics, but it matters. You know what I'm saying? It matters, and that it matters because me personally, I don't dig it, but it matters because you have to address things differently with different people that are in different parts of the economic system. You know, you don't go talk to multimillionaires and billionaires the same way you're gonna put something across to somebody that's middle class. You know what I'm saying? Because it affects everybody differently. So, you know, so I guess when it comes down to it, it's kind of important for the job. But me personally, I don't really dig it. But everybody's not like me over here in Northern California. In the East Bay area. Or the Northern Valley, West Valley. You know. People are, from these backwood places, where they don't have it's a dirt road with no sidewalks. It's different. What I mean, I'm not trying to make fun. I'm just saying it's different lifestyle, different ideologies, different, totally all the way around different, the way you're raised, the way you grow up, the way you end up being, you know what I'm saying? Your beliefs, your ideology, all that. That's all I'm saying. So with that being said, this was a little longer video than I wanted to go. Hopefully, though, people will watch it in full entirety and give me some good uh, feedback or whatever their opinions are and perspectives about this article. That being said, Big Lou, tapping out.